All right. All right, Friday. Yeah, it's me again. Um, yeah, so since I just did that video on nitpicking earlier this week, um, the only logical video that I could possibly make today and release today would be a video in which I unironically nitpick about something that Christians do. I mean, because the universe is expanding and the earth is spinning and California is suffering from wildfires. So like everything is normal, everything is continuing as it should, and so obviously I must in my own way continue with what should I say the Lord's predestined me to do since the foundation of the world. Maybe. I'm not a Calvinist. All right, so this is the thing. I stumbled into an article. I want to say it was on church leaders. That it was commenting on how pastors talking about their wives being smoking hot on the platform of their church. And at first I was like, well, whatever. And as I was reading down through the article, I'll have to try to dig it up again and maybe post it in the comment or the description so you can get a kind of basis. But as I was reading down through it, I began to remember certain instances where it isn't really anything new for me. I began to realize where Christine Kane, whenever she speaks practically, for a while, I haven't heard her speak in probably 2 years, so I don't know if she's still doing it. But like the first time I ever heard her speak was in a Life Church .tv podcast, and she brings her husband out onto the platform who supports her in ministry and like tells all the women like, yeah, I know he's hot, but he's mine and don't lust. I thought that was odd, but just kept on going past it. And then Perry Noble, who was used to be the pastor at New Spring Church in South Carolina, he used to mention how his wife was smoking hot, and Clayton King, who guest speaks there sometimes, he also, I believe, is one of the campus pastors at Liberty University. He used to also talk about how his wife is smoking hot, using those precise words. I thought that's kind of odd. And then Craig Rochelle, who anytime he has a speaker come up onto the platform, the church, whether it's like a Michael Jr. is probably the one I remember most clear, where Craig Rochelle has 6 kids, and so he would comment on the number of children that person has, saying that, let's say they have 3, or they have 5, or they have 2, that they almost love their wives as much as he does. And I used to like, that's odd. Like why are they doing this? And then Stephen Furtick, during a live broadcast message probably 4 years ago, smacked his wife on the butt as she was leaving the platform, that she did some kind of illustrative thing, some chalkboard, like writing on the chalkboard or something. And even like the audience even balked at it right then, and he responded with like, well, you only got one wife, you got to enjoy her whenever you can, or some comment like that. And it began to, as I was thinking about it, like, I can't think of any pastor with that kind of public persona who hasn't done this. I mean, not counting like John MacArthur and R.C. Sproul and John Piper, because I think on the one hand, their wives are beyond the age of kind of the standard secular aesthetic. Just age-wise, they're no longer young and hip, I guess. So they obviously wouldn't make a comment like that. And I mean, aside from their ministry, like, they wouldn't make a comment like that, but especially like that their wives are not there. And then I think Matt Chandler and David Platt are probably the only two that I've heard that are younger, that are in this demographic of young, relatively young, I guess, youthful pastors with young families, where, and I just kind of wonder, of like, why are they doing that? And then it came to a head with Reach Records just released a new music video. It's one of those tour recap kind of music videos for their song Coming In Hot. And in it, Mineo+Lecrae, they just finished up an extensive tour, which my wife and I actually got to go to. It was a really good show. And they, in it, one of the lyrics is Lecrae talks, not Lecrae, but Mineo talks about how his wife and him they're planning to have children, but right now they're just practicing, drawing attention obviously to the sexuality of their marriage. And it makes me wonder, like, why is it that all these Christian leaders, these evangelical leaders, these pastors and leaders of family ministries feel this need, this compulsion to constantly underscore the sexuality, the sensuality, the physical attractiveness of their spouses? These leaders, these men, these women, artists, performers, like, why is it they constantly feel the need to do this? And the article itself, the church leaders one, it talks about how that it's a counterbalancing, it's a counter response to kind of the puritanical, Great Awakening roots of this kind of North American culture that we live in. That, nah, dude, we're not against sex. Sex is great. And so they've gone in the opposite direction as far as marketing, of that they've gone from celibacy and, in a lot of ways, kind of a sacrosanct or very sparse relationship with the idea of sex, to this very celebratory and even what do you want to say? Very secularized view of sex, where it's overly hyped, I guess, is the point that I'm trying to make. And what I would say is that it's not good, at the very least. And the reason I think that is that if you open up Proverbs 31, and in it, it has like the Proverbs 31 woman, the perfect, the ideal woman, which I'd say is even this artificially pufferized, perfect woman. Not one mention of her physical aesthetic is mentioned. She can weave fibers. She knows how to spin flax. She knows how to scout property and buy it. She knows how to raise her children. They enjoy her. She stays up late into the night. She gets up early in the morning. She's hardworking. She knows how to negotiate and barter in the marketplace. Like, she is incredibly skilled and well-rounded. She manages her home well. Her husband celebrates and rejoices in her. Like, all these wonderful things. Not a single mention of her physical appearance anywhere. Which is followed up by, in the original, the Hebrew Old Testament, the way the books were arranged in a slightly different way compared to the way our Protestant New Testaments are. And in it, it had that book, the Proverbs, right there, Proverbs 31, and in their canon associations, the next book after that was the book of Ruth. So you have this illustrative kind of general skeleton of what a woman is like, a perfect woman, and then on the other hand, it shows right there this practical example of what does this look like in a real woman's life example. And while we know that Ruth was beautiful, because it does mention that, we don't know what that means contextually, and I'm pretty darn confident that she wasn't thin. But so it's something that we need to get away from this idea that we need to constantly sexualize things, including there are sermons and sermon illustrations and things like that. We got to get away from this as Christian leaders, artists, performance based, whatever. Like, we have to get away from this constant idealization, this driving force behind constantly trying to sexualize everything, and especially, more than anything else, our life partners, our covenant partners. They're not a toy to be paraded. They're a woman to be loved, a man to be honored, nothing else. So, I think that's my primary issue with it, is how it's objectifying that person. You can make whatever argument around it, well, it's because I still love my wife, or we're still in the cute, nasty phase, whatever. I don't care. It's objectifying your spouse, and that makes it not cute. That means it's not honoring the Holy Spirit of God within her, the image of God, that imago Dei. It's trivializing. So, I guess that's kind of it for today, and for today at least. For the 4 people that watched my previous video, this will be a little bit of a follow-up for them. For the everyone else that didn't watch that video, go back and watch it, and then maybe this one will understand. I don't know, whatever. I did think of another thought, a possible title. So for the people that actually watch these videos, give me some feedback of, I only am able to record these on my days off, and so something to think about, off day media. So if you like that, or if you don't like that, or whatever, join up with the conversation, and I'll find those links, and I'll try to put them down in the description so you can see what I mean. Peace.